Okay, so thanks for your patience. Now over to Rajiv. The virtual stage is all yours, and the session has been live. You can
Yeah.
go.
Thanks, Saubhagya. So hope I can share my screen now.
Yes, you can.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Really, thank you. Firstly, thank you for joining in on a Sunday. I know it's off day, and we'd have many other activities in our personal life on this day. Nevertheless, so without further ado, let's get started on this session. So here, I'm plan to talk about conversational intelligence and interactive bots today. So with the advent of GPT, I know like everyone of us is excited about chatbots and how we are making use of them in our day-to-day lives. And there is always a question in everyone's mind as to how these work and where I can use them in my business or in my daily lives or in in any field of my interest. So firstly, let me thank Analytics Vidya as well to help me get this opportunity to talk about and share about like whatever I have learned during my career span with respect to the chatbots, etc. Uh, these are broadly what we are going to cover today. What is the history of chatbots, how they evolved, and what are the different types of bots, the architecture of a simple bot. So where it can give you answers without much complications. And also like we'll also have a quick session on how you can design your own chatbot. And also, when we are talking about chatbot, the definition of flow is also quite important as we need to define it on the basis of the business problem we are trying to solve. And I'd like to keep the last couple of minutes for the Q&A session where it will be an open house to answer your questions. Okay, let's get started with a quick introduction about me. So I come with over 12 years of experience, and currently I'm associated with Geo Platforms as a lead data scientist in the product discovery and the search team. So we mainly deal with the e-commerce search, and we build certain modules to enhance the search experience and relevant results and get relevant results to the users. And coming to my hobbies, so I enjoy running and swimming, and yeah, I'm an avid traveler too, and I love going on long drives to far off places, and I try to cover most of the places in my car itself. And I graduated from the Goa campus of BITS Pilani in 2010, right? Okay, so let's jump into the topic right away. Okay, so it's important to understand like how these chatbots evolved initially, and even to my surprise, so I understood that the first chatbot was built for a medical use case. So where they wanted to simulate a conversation. How a psychotherapist speaks to the patients, etc. So it was way back in 1966, so where a chatbot named Eliza was started. So you can see the screenshot to the right as to how Eliza works. So this was a very basic UI at that point in time, and I would say it is really impressive for the kind of resources that were available at that time, etc., where hardly many people have not had any access to computers, etc. And this was like an interactive bot, so where it was just trying to answer simple questions to the users, and whatever the response from the user. So based on that, so it will try to uh, uh, give a response so that will suit the user's query, right? And when we talk about how these things have evolved since Eliza, so we all know what what is the state of art or the SOTA technology of state bots, chatbots right now. So which is Chat GPT, and recently we also had this GPT-4 coming into the released, right? So when you see the evolution right from 1966 till 2000 end of 21, and recently the beginning of 2023. So more and more is dependent on how well the techniques have evolved, right from a simple rule-based or a keyword-based search to a large language model or a transformer-based approaches. So which Chat GPT and GPT-4 are using, right? So it has twofold reasons of why these have exploded in the last couple of years. So probably the past 8-9 years. So where we had Alexa, we had Cortana, we had Google Assistant, everything coming because of the evolution of the techniques, and also the computation power has improved. So due to which, so we are able to make use of much better chatbots. And this particular session I've uh, designed keeping in mind that even someone who is new to the chatbots would understand like how these things work and build on top of that. And coming to the type of chatbots, so this is where we'll be having to take a call as to what is the kind of thing, or the kind of chatbot we need to solve our purpose, not that you use advanced chatbot for everything. So in our day-to-day lives, so right from Big Basket in the morning, so where we have the chat, but that is based on clicks, right? So that will that is an example of a semi-stateful chatbot. So which is the second in this particular picture which I'm showing. So what it will do is, so based on certain selections made by the user, so these chatbots, what they'll do is, so they'll try to retain the context in that form of user selection, and then try to nudge the user to get input, so which will resolve the user's issue, right? And to start off, what the basic chatbots are. So these are stateless bots. By stateless, I mean, so they don't remember the previous conversation or the previous piece of conversation. They are just designed to give an answer to a specific question, and they just forget everything once the query is answered. Now, so these things don't have a definite end goal, and they don't have memory. So which is quite important to retain the context, etc. So for example, if you are talking to some person who is so say, hey, how are you? He says, I'm good. And you just get to us, do the small talk. And finally you say, hey, what is this? So you talk about his new car, and you say, what is this? So these stateless bots, they can't understand what do you mean by this. So they don't know like what this refers to, because it doesn't, it forgets whatever was discussed before, right? Now, so the learning capability of these bots is very minimal. And because every message is like a fresh start for it, right? Now coming to the semi-stateful bots. So where we are trying to keep a conversation by nudging users based on their choices. So these choices will be stored as a context, right? For example, I go to the Big Basket and say that, hey, my order is not delivered. So it remembers that, okay, I came here to raise a complaint. So all the subsequent questions will follow whatever frequently asked questions were there in that complaint intent, right? And these rely on slot fillings. By slot filling, I mean, so they try to build a context around the user query or the session by trying to take input from the users intelligently. Or they have a standard set of inputs, which they say, okay, so he is talking about a particular, he's coming with a particular intent of raising a complaint and regarding a particular product. So my questions will be limited to those two things which are already set in the context. Okay, so it won't deviate from that. So that is an example of a semi-stateful approach. Now, semi-stateful, after semi-stateful, there is a stateful bot, so which has good amount of context, and so they are able to answer questions about previous conversations. So for example, Same thing you can see with this. So ChatGPT is not exact example of that, but there will be some bots. So where you initiate a conversation, and when you say for example, I'm just trying to inquire about my bank balance, and so I try to inquire and check like what are the deposits I have, and then I can ask a subsequent question as, can I get a loan or an overdraft facility on my existing accounts? So then it should go back to the previous context. So where it displayed my balance or it displayed my deposits. And then on the basis of that, it should answer my current question. Because my current question don't have that information, but based on like what conversation went through initially. So it should pick up details from that. So once those details are picked, so it can answer it with much more confidence instead of asking everything all about again and going around all the details of the conversation, asking like what is the balance and all. So it directly answers because it already has a memory of like what we spoke earlier, right? So that is the stateful bots. Now, coming to the most important or the state of art thing is the loyal bots. So where so it will try to keep context of the conversation as well as it tries to make some intelligent inferences. By intelligent inferences, I mean, so I try to ask a couple of questions to a bot. So it will try to understand like what my requirement is. So for example, I go to a say bought from a banking service or a loan provider. So I go and I ask a couple of questions. Say, for example, I'm a current loan account holder, and I say ask questions about like what are the charges of prepayment, etc. So then it should nudge me, like say, okay, do you want to make some prepayment, and what is the amount you make? And it should also infer like, okay, if I make payment of X amount, like what is the how much does my tenure decrease by, right? So these are loyal bots. So where they listen proactively and also try to make intelligent inferences and nudge users based on that. And if you see from the left to right, so the context specificity increases from low to high level, from stateless to loyal bots. So this is the importance of context and not just bots, but every AI or a machine learning solution. So which we are using NLP or voice, whatever. So these things will enhance the user experience eventually. Now, coming to the popular use cases. So we'll just skim through this one quickly because we already know like what chatbots are used for, right? And so it can be used for like a Q&A mechanism and getting detailed answers or explanations, right? ChatGPT is doing most of these things recently, and resolving a complaint or a problem. So for example, you want to reach a website of a bank because you had some you forgot your credit card or debit card somewhere, so you can't track it, so you need to block it. So you need to immediately reach out to them, right? So based on certain questions, so it will help you resolve that problem, even when customer service executives are outside their work hours, right? And also, regularly we do like by paying a bill or you want to reserve a hotel, etc. Like making use of a Google Assistant or an Alexa integrated service, etc. And you want to schedule some meeting or you want to purchase an item or you want a daily dose of self-help quotes, etc. So those things can be done by chatbot, right? And yeah, so I know we're all experimenting with this chat GPT and all, and we have much more things to cover apart from these use cases, right? And here I'm going to quickly discuss like how you can design a simple chatbot. So this is not the architecture, so which is generic, etc. But this can be a starting point to whoever is trying to build something new. using a chatbot, etc. We try to understand the basic building blocks. So what things go into a chatbot and what are the requirements and like to make it functional. And also we have many we can build our own chatbot without using cloud bot framework like Azure, etc., using Telegram itself. So we can you can explore more on that Telegram bot API. So where you can build a simple bot and it will start responding to your queries as well. So so there's a high-level diagram of this bot service. So assuming you have a device so where you're sending a message from, and there is a orchestration service. So there is this bot framework uh, to start off with. So what this bot framework does is, so it will try to process the incoming messages, and it will also use some kind of a mechanism or an orchestration service to create the responses and send it back to the user through the device with which, or the device or the channel with which it is linked to. So that is the use of a bot framework. So we have in the cloud system, so we have this Microsoft bot frameworks and Azure ecosystem, etc. And Telegram also provides the same service. So where it kind of listens to, and it also gives you an option to consume like a voice message or a text input or even image input in some cases, and it can give the same subsequent outputs as well based on the based on how we design, right? Now, this orchestration service is basically trying to consume the messages, do some kind of pre-processing, and also try to call some external APIs. So in this case, so we are relying on this AI services. And also, we are using some kind of a transformation of the incoming messages by doing this feature extraction and training in the yellow box. So where we are just trying to convert your text messages into a one hot encoding or some kind of a encoder decoder network, and then providing it to the AI service to do the inferencing part. So once the inferencing is done, so it will prepare the response that needs to be sent to the user in the orchestration service, and then output is sent via the bot framework. So where it will reach our device as a response from the bot. So this is again architecture. So it's mostly a bare bones architecture. So where we are trying to see like whether so these are minimum requirements for our bot to run, and we might exclude one or two components related to the feature extraction and all if we are following a different route as to we are doing some kind of a lookup, etc. So which will solve the purpose in the back, right? Now, coming to design of your own chatbot. So, so there are a couple of questions so which we need to ask ourselves. So what is a bot meant for? So what is a business problem we are trying to solve? So there might be multiple use cases, like whether your bot is trying to solve many problems, so which are taking a lot of time of your customer service agents. So and that you know that it can be solved without an agent because it can be automated through some script, and it can be resolved in near real time, and you don't want to use the bandwidth of your analyst or the customer service executive for this issue, right? So that is when you can take, say, hey, 60% of my requirements are repetitive and very popular, and I don't need my customer service executive to spend time on it, nor I don't want to uh, keep these non-critical requests waiting. So this won't impact any criticality, like say trying to reset a pin, etc. So which can be critical in terms of security of card or something. So instead of that, so I'll try to outsource certain areas or certain categories of problems, so which can be solved within no time. So then, yes, you can use the bot. what all should the bot be able to detect and respond to? And so we need to identify like what is the user saying, and how I need to respond back to the user. So for example, say that you're ordering a certain amount of products from a distributor, and you say that you have less product received, right? So the invoice says that they have sent you 20 units of a product, but you received only 15. So in this case, so if your bot is trying to handle such type of queries, so we need to define like what are the entities involved. Say you're ordering for 15 crates of your favorite soft drink, or your favorite beer, and you're not able to understand like how the items are missing. So we need to be able to detect these particular entities. And also there might be certain mismatch in the payments as well, right? Say for example, vendors, they need to receive 3 lakhs, and they created only 2,70,000. So where is the missing amount? So they need to question the finance team or whoever is responsible for the payments as to what is the discrepancy, why is the discrepancy in the payment. So then it should be able to calculate the amount and check in their system, so that we are able to like understand what the user is saying, and also responding appropriately rather than giving a generic response, so which doesn't solve the user's problem, right? And again, the most important thing is context. So stateful or not, so nowadays in most of the cases, yes, you need context, but there are certain items like there are certain use cases so where the context may not be that important. So for example, if you are reaching website of say a new like apartment project, so where they're trying to get your requirements, the slot filling is already taking help of the context, but so they need not like give you a personalized suggestion every time, because the purpose there is to collect the basic information like name, phone number, and email, etc. And they just give you some crafted response, so which where personalization is not necessary every time, right? And also the latency, which is a very important aspect. So where in terms of use in a case by case basis, so where you are having queries on your travel or your boarding related queries for the last minute. Say you're on the cab, and you want to check on check whether why you're not able to do a web check-in for a particular airline. So the latency should be very high, and they should not keep you waiting there. So in that case, so your bot should be super fast in responding, and there should be some kind of a caching mechanism, so which can be done in memory or space within the cloud system itself. So there you might need additional components like a Redis cache or something, right? And what are the ML or the inferencing modules I need? So not every time you need an ML module for everything. So it might be a simple lookup also in most of the cases. So putting an ML model for everything might be an overkill at times. But I'm not denying the importance of ML modeling in chatbots. But these should be chosen prudently. And so again, that depends on the business case. So if I were to give you an example, so say for example, so there is an error code that is coming up when you're trying to raise a ticket to a software service provider or an internet service provider. So it should be a simple lookup based on the error code, so which the user is seeing, right? So you don't need an ML model for that. So whenever the user says error code, and that particular string is presented in the chat, so it should instantaneously give that. Else, if you put more ML models, what will happen is, so these ML models would be hosted in some kind of a cloud environment, and the API call adds to the latency. And that may not be worth it in some cases, right? because if all the requests are going to ML model, so that architecture itself is flawed in that case, right? And also before building this model, once these checks are done, so we also need to identify like where the training data is coming from. So is it coming from a genuine source? So where you have a list of queries typed by the users under different categories? Are these clean data or people are typing junk? Uh, so these things need to be attended to carefully. And we need to do a lot. We might have to need to do a lot of cleanup before building model with that. If data is not there, so that is an easier task because you can build at least some data and augment it later based on the user queries, etc. At least this would solve the cold start problem, right? Now, so once we have all these prerequisites sorted and we do our basic due diligence for the data and diagnostics, so we can proceed on to the next stage. So which is like design of what are the things or modules needed, right? So since we are talking about chatbot, so it should mimic someone who is trying to do the job of a customer service representative or an IT agent, etc. So small talk is basically the greetings or the conversational closer statements like, hey, good morning, bye, etc. Right? And so there might be some action intent modules. So where person is coming to raise a complaint or the check the status of his order, or also trying to check the status of an existing complaint. So say you go to a telecom service provider chat and say that, hey, what is the status of my service request? And you give the details of the ticket number, etc., so that the bot can check it automatically for you and come back with an appropriate response on the status, like whether it is still under process or it is already resolved, and what are the closure comments, etc. Right? And so these are like identifying the quantifiers. So that can be another module. So like we just understood, like there can be some quantities involved, or there are some entities that need to be captured, like the color of a product, like a weight of a product, or we also want to understand like the recency details, etc. So these things also should, whether you need these things or not. So that again is a call. And FAQs is an important aspect as well. So where the users sometimes may not be aware of like whether there are like a frequently asked questions section is present on the website or not. And this will be a very helpful feature. So where it tries to figure out like what the FAQs are, and it will help users to do a help go through a self-help articles and resolve their own issues. And so if you're going one step beyond, apart from these intent understanding piece, and there might be cases. So for example, you want to you're uh, going to say, I'll give you a particular use case. So for example, I'm a newly onboarded vendor onto Amazon or Meesho or whatever. So I go through the first module, so which is intent understanding, and say my action is to get onboarded onto their vendor or a partner program, right? So then I should also mention that what I want to sell. Say I want I'm selling clothing accessories and all. So then based on those keywords, so it should be able to identify like what could be the matching category in their particular website, right? So instead of me searching for like hundreds of catalogs or categories, so which are present in there, so based on the keywords, so it should be able to match with the appropriate category, so that I have a subset of the categories so to choose from, right? So that is an additional requirement, so which can be done. So these are the modules so which are needed. So this in context of daily services like a big basket or a daily ninja, right? Now, so we need to stitch everything together. So how? So from your device, the user chat is initiated. So it goes through the intent module and also optionally the category prediction module. And based on these information, the informations or the entities extracted from these two modules, so the bot will be able to reply back to the user. So this is how the flow is going to be, right? And yeah, so I assume so we have gone through all the details so that are needed to build this sample chatbot. And we'll just have a quick exercise. So if you have some kind of IDE like a PyCharm or a VS Code, so that will definitely help you. So we can build a small chatbot so with a very limited amount of data. And a disclaimer is that don't expect it to be super accurate, but it will definitely solve the purpose. So I have shared this GitHub repository. So you can go to the master branch. So you can follow this particular link to get the resources for the same. And I've mentioned everything in the README so that you can start off building the bot, and it will show a command line interface, so which will help you build your own bot and get the responses, right? So just let me know if you're able to access this particular link. You can confirm that over the chat. Okay, I'll paste it in the chat for your reference. So for quick reference, let me also paste this in the. So these are the guidelines for making your chatbot up and running. So you can have a quick reference. So can someone confirm if you are able to access the repository and clone it into your local IDEs? So I see some questions coming in. So I'm just making a note of them. So we'll just discuss in the Q&A session. So I've shared the training data as well. So that will consist of a CSV file where you have the query and the intent, and also you will have certain responses in the form of a JSON file. And the bot.py consists of the code needed to create a small basic CLI chatbot. So this is the, yeah, thanks for sharing. And there's a GitHub link, so which was just shared. So everyone, since we are almost at the end of the session, I believe you can clone it or fork it into your local and follow these steps to make it up and running. So to make it more efficient, so you can add more training data and also try out. So this is based on a bag of words features and also a simple machine learning model. I've used a basic model logistic regression to classify this input into one of these intents. So where the bot will be answering, and the responses are mentioned in the JSON file. So where certain class will result in a particular type of response, and we can also make it better by making the flow better, and also maybe introducing more models at every stage and crafting the bot responses accordingly, right? Uh, so thank you everyone for the patience, and we'll now have the open house for the question and answers. So feel free to send in your question and answers.
Okay, Rajiv. Before we proceed to question and answers, I
Hmm?
would like the attendees to please fill a poll of feedback. So it helps us to conduct more such sessions. So just give me a minute.
Sure, sure. So
We'll have the polls. Okay, so I'll request all the attendees to please answer the polls. And Rajiv, you can now head over to the Q&A section.
sure, sure. Thank you. Okay. So shall I like type the answers or I can discuss on live so that everybody is able to get a grasp?
Yes, you can go for the suitable method as per you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so this first question, I think this was already answered. So what are the type of models in ChatGPT? So ChatGPT uses large language models and also based on transformers. So where they use encoder decoder networks to understand the sequence and what is and how they capture the context is using this masked language model. So how they are trained is, so when you type a sequence of data, so they are like capping one word and trying to see like what are the sequence of words that will result in a given word. So that is how there's a sequential models are trained, and this large language models, so they need a lot of training data and a lot of computing power because they have millions of parameters. Because when you look at models like BERT and all, so there are different variants of birds. So where they have like uh, about depending on the types of parameters or the layers that have been trained. So these will be used on the basis of what is the requirement of this particular problem. And one important thing about this is, so these need a lot of training, and if we are trying to use it for a specific use case, so they may not work very well. So based on what I have tried out, but ChatGPT, since it has knowledge of multiple different areas, and it has a more specific training that was done. So while training the underlying model, so it may be able to answer it better. And also, just to bring out one thing, so there's automated code generation and all these tools were existent uh, uh, previously as well, but only ChatGPT popularized it because people have been asking such kind of questions to ChatGPT. Because earlier we had these tools as well, so which could generate code, right? Because we have this software MATLAB, right? So it has a C language converter, so which can convert the MEX function into C language code. So that is one type of a translation only, right? So it is not something new ChatGPT is doing, but it is just this idea became popular because of ChatGPT, right? And okay, so hope that question is answered. And now coming to the next question, do we train each word or how it is processed? So this is a bag of words approach, so which I've used in this particular example. And also, so for simple use cases, the bag of words would do. And for training deep learning models or large deep neural networks, so we need a lot of data. So anything in the order of thousands may not be sufficient because uh, yeah, it takes a large time. I mean, like large data and also a lot of time with the computation powers which average systems have to for the algorithm to converge, right? And basic models are famous models in business models. So this is not very clear, but as per what I understand, uh, so we have this. So these basic models so will give us a sense of like which direction the model can go, or whether we have a good amount of separation between the classes. So these are mainly used as heuristic mechanisms to judge the sanity of the data. And we don't use basic models every time, but if the uh, separation is quite clear, or the classification boundary is very clear with the basic model itself, so then no harm in going, and it is easy to interpret as well, right? Okay. How can we create voice so JSON data to read a sentence? So the choice of JSON is just arbitrary, and we can use flat files or a CSV representation also to do that. And the next question from Mayank is, how can we create voice bot instead of CLI? So voice bot, so you need to have the bot framework to handle the voice statements as well, which Telegram can do, and it will give you a voice file as an output, right? Uh, so uh, so that is one way to do it in an easier way. But if you were to do it using your own system, so you can still do it, but you need a lot of supporting modules, so which will help, which should enable you to give voice as an output, right? Okay, Munavra. So okay, can you, I suggest you to just go through the Git commands to clone the repository in your own VS Code or PyCharm. So from there, you can try to go to the code base. And again, one question from Sairam is, okay, how is it useful? These readily implemented chatbots in our daily data science of company asked experience with chat development. See, experience with Chat GPT and large language models. So large language models, again, like I told you, so they are used in the main use case, so which we come across is the prediction of a next word or context words, or trying to, so these come under the family of generative AI models. So where we are crafting certain response. Say, for example, if you are taking a huge corpus of, say, a movie, right? If you have seen the corpus of movie dialogues between characters. So you can find this example in, I believe, PyTorch tutorials. So where you can build your own chatbot based on the movie dialogues. Okay. So these are family of the generative models. And so that depends on the use case. So if you're planning to build some bots, so which should give generic responses like we get from many of the customer care representatives. So you can still go ahead and do that. But see, ChatGPT have multitude of use cases, and it is used in multiple fields, right? So even in digital marketing, and also if you want to do sales, you want to craft a very beautiful response to your client who is furious about your services, you can do that using ChatGPT. But again, it depends on the use case. So since this is open-ended, so that is what I can explain in short, Sairam. So Telegram bot, again, it's Farzana. So that is a bot framework actually. So you can plug in your own services and modules to make it work. So if you, so there are many tutorials online as to how you can create your own Telegram bot, and you have a Python Telegram API as well. So where you can help it understand like what the user is sending, and how to consume the response, and in between you can plug in your modules and process the response and send it back to the user, to the same bot which you have created. Okay, hope I answered that question, Farzana. And okay, so I believe we are to the end of the Q&A. Any other questions, guys, which I can answer for you?
Yes, Rajiv, I guess the question has been answered. And thanks a lot, Rajiv, on behalf of Analytics Vidya. I would like to thank you for your time and for delivering such a wonderful session. I'm sure our audience found it insightful, and hopefully we can conduct more such sessions with you in the future. So the LinkedIn profile of the speaker has been given over here. So anybody who want, they can refer. And if you guys have not answered the poll, then do please answer the polls also, because it helps us to conduct such more sessions. Okay, so Rajiv, I guess we can end the session.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Rajiv. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks so much for giving this opportunity.